How to make your indie game popular. Hey man, just stand out. I wouldn't be able to count how many times I've heard that line. All that talking about constantly standing out, finding forgotten formulas for wishlist growth and making your indie game actually memorable for potential players who would give you only 5 seconds max to interest them before leaving is honestly super tiring. Was super tiring. Until one day I realized that it's kinda true, and suddenly it all clicked. So in that one video I'm gonna show you how my indie game went from literally nothing to gaining a couple thousand wishlists in just a few days. Just take a note that presented things here might not work for everyone for various reasons, but without further ado, let's go to the number one thing on today's list, which is compare your game to something people already know. Let's be honest. We take inspirations from everywhere, whether we go shopping, watch TV, or just sit there on a couch and sip a bottle of beer. Wait, yeah, that's actually how I got ideas for my indie game called Hank Drowning on Dry Land. I went shopping, and while waiting in the line at the checkout, I thought how nice it would be to be able to rewind or speed up time whenever I'd like. Boom. Then at my home, nostalgia came all of the sudden and my head went back to the times when I watched Batman Beyond series as a kid. Boom. And finally, while I was daydreaming about that, I realized I'm holding a freaking bottle of beer. Bang, bang, bang! And that's exactly what Hank is about. Think Batman, but always drunk, and he can time travel. See how fast a few words can activate your imagination? That's actually so much more efficient way to present something to others than explaining the entire lore of your game like this. Hey, you know, there's this mysterious vigilante whose life fell apart and he started drinking, so now he has an alcohol problem, and there's also... You see what I mean? So when you finish watching this video, I want you to think about 3 core words or things that can describe your game. That can be either your favorite TV shows, a book, puzzles, a wallet, a watch, perfumes, anything, but it has to be a theme people are already familiar with. Mysterious Vigilante does not mean as much to people as Batman-like character, even though it's basically the same thing. So take notes and do your homework once we're finished here. The second thing on our magic list is showing your game at live events. I know what you're gonna say. I know, it's expensive, and that's completely true, but there are many ways to do so. Sometimes you find a local foundation that goes to events with some games, and by reaching out to them you can be a part of it. There are also some smaller or more important showcases which either take your game and show it on their stream, or actually put the table on some kind of a live event and make it your own, where you can be your own boss and present your game to the visitors. Matter of fact, about 2 weeks ago my game about drunk Batman got selected for a PAX Rising showcase, which not only made my game much more visible on Steam, but also got me my own stand at PAX West 25, where I had a chance to talk with you guys, amazing gamers and journalists, and literally everyone who dropped by. We even got a chance to visit Valve's headquarters, and it was an awesome experience. You might say, meh, and you got what from that? 10 wishlists? That might be a really big surprise for you, but that one weekend made my game go from 3-4 wishlists a day to skyrocketing into hundreds and even thousands of wishlist additions in one day. Of course, after the event it all stabilized again, but just think how big of a deal that is. Just by attending a show like that with my own table and talking with real people, I managed to cross the 10,000 wishlist milestone for my indie game, which is mind-blowing. And yeah, it was hard getting there, it definitely wasn't easy, but it was worth it. And that's another thing I want you to do later. Look for some ways to show off your game in public. Even if it would be an after-class meeting at your school with only 5 people attending, doesn't matter. You have to build courage to actually stand out and show your game to real people. Posting stuff on Blue Sky, on Tumblr, on Twitter is not as efficient as it was back then, so you gotta find some other ways. And live events are my proposition for that. That takes us to the third thing on the list, which is attaching your game to some other media. The fuck does that even mean, bro? Like, come on. Alright, let me explain. For example, my indie game is heavily inspired by comic book aesthetics and themes. That's why later this month I'll be attending a huge Games X comic book festival in my country, where I can reach people who actually might like my work, because that already narrows the search field to people interested in comics and superheroes. Because hey, no one at Gardening Expo would be interested in Batman, right? And vice versa, no one at a comic book expo would be interested in farming simulators or other cozy games. You know what I mean. Just find a niche your game would fit perfectly into and use it as your playground. Wanting to reach literally everyone might be tempting, but trust me, it will actually have quite an opposite effect. Aiming at a specific group of people, even if it's small, can be much more beneficial than looking for gamers interested in your game in an open field of all kinds of interest. So I also think about making some handmade samples of a comic volume about my indie game superhero and giving it out to people there so they have something cool to read, and maybe this will interest them enough to wishlist my game and possibly even buy it. I will definitely let you know how this event went once it's over, but I'm really positive about it and I actually can't wait to meet you guys again and show you the game I've worked so hard on. And there you have it. Those are my ways that I find working best for promoting my indie game, and even though they may not be perfect, I think they are a perfect balance between having fun and working on my game's marketing. Hey, don't forget your homework, you can actually write it down there in the comment section, and remember, never give up. Psst, a link to the trackpad my games in the comment section too.